In the year of 2025, we finally have a release date for a Roblox One Piece game. And it's Four Blues. You guys will probably think about another game, but Four Blues is the only One Piece game we have so far that has a confirmed release date. And honestly, the game is pretty solid, bro. Like, this game actually is good. The gameplay I've seen so far, fantastic. It's been superb. And honestly, I just don't really have that many complaints about this game. This game just seems to be doing a lot of things right, especially the combat. The combat for this game is so smooth and so well developed, and I can kind of tell they've taken some inspiration from Type Soul. And I get Type Soul is supposed to be like the measure for how combat should be on Roblox games, but honestly, it did take some aspects. I can tell based on the gameplay, it's taking some aspects from Type Soul, and it kind of reminds me of like a GPO and Type Soul together. Like, if you combine both of those games together, this game will kind of look like both of those games if you put them together. But apart from that, we actually know a lot about Four Blues right now. So in terms of what Four Blues is a mechanically intensive open world RPG that obviously takes inspiration from One Piece. So in terms of the game being open world, I think the progression should be quite interesting because we haven't got any information on progression so far. It's been kind of like quiet in terms of progression. They've not said much. They have no sneak peeks of how it's going to look like. So I'm honestly expecting the in-game progression to be super unique or something we haven't really seen before in other One Piece games, because this game will definitely, I feel like, have a lot of different elements that we haven't seen before. A lot of the time, we keep getting the same type of bandit beater progression in One Piece games, and it feels like it's so consistent. It's like we need something a little bit different. So I do hope that Four Blues is one of those games where it changes it up. It makes something a little bit different. Maybe having like more ship-based missions, island-based, just having something that's unique in its own different way, rather than trying to just be the same thing that we see in other One Piece games. Also, in terms of the release date here, they did say that they do expect to release Four Blues during early to mid-June of this year. So that could easily be within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I do think that releasing the game during June is a really good time, because that's the time when most of the big games are coming out, such as Rail Seas and Holy War X. So kind of releasing your game during that time, you can kind of like carry over some of the players that might play those games into your game. So it was a really smart strategy, but it could pay off. Who knows? It might not pay off at the same time. Maybe people will end up ignoring their game if they release it during that time. Who knows? But there was another thing they said here. They did say that how will the Devil Fruit system and Haki system work in the game? So they essentially explained here that closed community, you can only have like one Devil Fruit per person. But when they release the game to the public, it won't necessarily be one per person. It'll probably be like multiple. They also quoted that the game will have a very fleshed out Haki system that will allow you to achieve diverse builds that focus on either Haki, Devil Fruits, or a hybrid mixture of both. So they are probably going to use the Haki and Fruits to really integrate it into their PvP and make it very unique. And some of the sneak peeks we've seen as well kind of show this. Most of the combat involve using Fruits and Haki together. So I do think that's what they're trying to do with the game. And I thought that's really interesting because we haven't really seen that in most of the One Piece games, where you can have really smooth PvP using both Haki and Fruits together, or using either one in some type of way with each build you create in the game. So Four Blues dev team are honestly cooking. I think this is a really interesting and innovative way of making a One Piece game and having the combat be like this. I really think they've tried to go out, outside the box and try to think of something really intriguing, and I think it might actually work. There's a good chance that this game will succeed, and I hope it does, because really and truly, I think they've done a great job here in terms of making something that isn't just a copy and paste One Piece game that we normally get. It's not just a basic, One Piece game that we normally see. There's clearly a lot of passion behind Four Blues, and they want to make the game as good as possible. But there are some issues that I feel like could affect the game, and I think it has to be the progression to us. Like, the progression is something that I feel like they should have been a lot more clear with, because so far the fact we haven't got any progression or any type of like videos or sneak peeks of how the progression looks like, it is kind of worrying, because you would think like with like a game like this where it's likely going to be competing with a lot of different games like that come out in the summer, you want to have the progression be a very big part of the game, because regardless of a game looking good or not, if the combat's good, if the progression isn't that great, you never know. You might not be able to keep that many players ultimately, because that's something that I feel like the Juicy Infinite also suffer from. Like, a lot of games we've seen over the last couple of months, they look good and the combat is good, but everything else is lacking. So I do think them not being that open with the progression could be a sign that maybe some things are just not really right yet, or maybe they might be making some changes to it. But ultimately, I feel like the fact that they've not been that open about it, it does kind of tell you that something might not be right. The progression could just be not that great. It could be like a basic bandit beating type of progression. but which I hope it's not, because I do think like a game like this, it can definitely do a lot better in terms of like it not having to be a banner beater. I definitely feel like if they actually make it a lot more interesting, that would help the game a lot more. But let's just be real, man, this game has to be good, because when you're competing with a game like Roblox that's going to come out as well, another One Piece game, they haven't shown that many sneak peeks, and that's the only thing that I was worried about when I first found out about this game. The lack of sneak peeks had me thinking, whoa, this is supposed to release in June and you guys barely have shown anything. Only like 2 videos of the combat and that's it. You barely show much, so it makes you think, is the game really ready to be out yet? Like, is it really complete? So that's why I was kind of like worried when I first saw the game. When I saw some more videos on the gameplay, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. But still, we still need to see more, because next 2-3 weeks, if they don't really start showing a lot more in terms of what's going on in the game, we don't fully have an idea of how, you know, it's gonna really be like when you're in, like how it's gonna be like when it releases to the public. Like, we have to have like some type of idea, because if someone's gonna invest time into the game, you have to at least see what exactly is going on. And Relseas has done a great job of doing that. Like, if for most One Piece games, you want to show at least a lot, like in terms of like how the game's gonna work, progression, and you know, combat, stuff like that. But they've shown the combat and some in-game, you know, stuff, but it's not been anything super concrete. And I feel like Relseas did a better job in terms of showing us the stuff we really want to see. So I just hope that for Blues, we get more stuff within the next 3 weeks, because you know, it just has to see, we just have to see more. We have to see more when it comes to this game, because if these niggas don't really hurry up and start doing more, we don't know, man. It could affect the game, and especially when you're competing with another game that could be out this year. We don't know if Relseas might come out. Who knows? They might end up not releasing Relseas in the summer, but if it does release, you want to have your game at least show a decent amount of stuff before it comes out, so you know, it can create some hype, some interest, and definitely, you know, when it does come out, you can have a good amount of players, rather than trying to rely on just the fact that, you know, the combat might be one thing, but we want to see more than that. So comment down below, is the game ready to be released yet, or is 4 Blue still another game that needs more time? Comment down below what you think, and with that being said, peace.